Well, there are 7 monsters, obviously, as it is, but it's called the Deadly Seven. They're based on the 7 deadly sins, but they're the sins of a very young boy who's kind of innocent and sweet and lovely. So, and they reflect his personality as they would do, like if you got Adolf Hitler's sins and turn them into monsters. They'd be pretty nasty. You wouldn't be messing with those. But his are just these sort of stupid, messy, noisy, kind of unpleasant but adorable creatures. And you've got Stan, who is sort of anger and wrath, and he looks like a sort of bull. He's like a red, angry bull. He's furious. He's got his massive hands and horns. Then you've got Miser, who is sort of greed, really. He's like a sort of, he has these long, sticky tentacles which enable him to steal and take things, everything he wants, and hide them in the pockets of his own sort of warped flesh. And then you've got Puff, who is laziness, or sloth, and he's just like a giant purple rug who doesn't do very much. You could be, he just sort of has a few words to say every now and then, but is essentially the laziest thing that sort of farts out this terrible sort of sleeping gas, as it were. And then you've got Hoot, who's the sin of pride. He thinks he's handsome. He's pretty good looking. He's this golden bird with this big silver beak, and he's very puffed up, sort of very thinks he's fantastic. He's actually the stupidest of all of them, and the others know it and often mock him without him realizing, because he's too stupid to realize he's being made fun of. And then you got Crush. He's sort of lust. For 11-year-old, lust is more like just really wanting stuff. Like it could be anything from footballs to see that new Marvel movie and to have it and possess it. And so Crush is like a cross between the dog we used to have, which is like a sort of this lovely ginger dog, and a fire hydrant and a trumpet. So it doesn't actually say anything. It just loves Nelson unconditionally and clings to him and just honks. That's all it can do, is just honk, just its affection the whole time. In the same way our dog used to just bark when it loved things. And so that's Crush. And then you've got Spike, who is envy, and he's green, and he's like a cactus. He's covered in spikes. He's miserable. He's just miserable. Everyone's got it better than he has as far as he's concerned. And he's sort of a bit of a downer generally for everybody. Representing greed, you have a monster called Nosh, who's like a giant pink sack of potatoes with very ineffective arms and legs and a massive oven door sized mouth. And just eats everything, junk food, literally junk though. He'll eat, sort of shoes and a dog, and he'll think it's delicious. And his stomach's like an incinerator, so after he's eaten something, depending on the scale of it, it will then catch fire and burn, and smoke will come out of his head like a chimney. There's a full range of sort of personalities there, sort of slices of this kid's personality just magnified into these sort of ridiculous creatures. But they also have sort of not powers, I would say, but they also have strengths and sort of quirks that can be very, very useful in terms of going on a mission. And as a group, they have one overwhelming, sort of overriding sort of trait, which is very useful, which is that because they're part of our hero's soul, they are connected to him. They can always find him. They can always track his soul. And because his sister is naturally attached to him, they can find her. Rather like being a sort of walking series of compass needles. They're like tracking devices. They can find anyone that's attached to Nelson's soul.